Good morning, everyone. I want to welcome you to our fifth session of the 2020 CCDEH virtual training series. For those of you who don't know me, my name is April Meneghetti, and I'm the Director of Environmental Health in Yolo County and the President of CCDEH. I want to start by giving a big thank you to our sponsors, Acela, who is sponsoring our entire training series and providing our Zoom support, Hedgerow for sponsoring 3 rural county scholarships, and KHA for sponsoring 20 retired director scholarships. Thank you. I also wanted to remind everybody that we still have time for you to get in your Excellence in Environmental Health nominations. This year, we have 2 categories, COVID response and non-COVID related, and these are due at the end of the month on September 30th. Also wanted to let everybody know that all of our previous sessions, and Tim's showing you right here, are available in our video library. This includes our most recent session from last week. So I encourage you all to watch those if you haven't already. And yeah, see, there you go, right there. And also, I hope that you guys will be able to join us for upcoming sessions, which will continue through November 5th. And next, I'd like to introduce Jeff Lamore, who's our CCDEH President-elect. Here you go. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, April. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to CCDEH's virtual training series. The live training series is open to all CCDEH members, including associate members. In order to receive your CEUs for each training session, you'll need to complete the course evaluation located towards the middle of the virtual training series webpage. Click on the REHS course evaluation tab, click next, and complete the requested information. For CCDEH members, one certificate will be issued at the conclusion of the training series. Only those sessions you have attended and have completed a course evaluation for will be listed on your certification. For all other REHSs, you can log on to the CCDEH website to access the training series. Once you have completed the training series, return to the virtual training series web page to complete the course evaluation and obtain your CEU certification. Just a reminder, as April did, the video series are located under the Events tab. Training videos will be posted within a week after each live session. Again, non-registered members can go to the Events tab to access the videos in the video library. And also, please remember to use your Q&A function when asking questions. With that, I'd like to introduce Justin Milan, Executive Director with CCDEH. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Justin. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone. This is great. This is our 5th session, and we are starting the first of 2 hazmat sessions. Next week, we'll have environmental justice from Cali, PA. And as you know, we tried to follow the CCDH policy areas in this training session. We've asked Fred Chun to give us an overview, excuse me, of the CUPA program. Although most directors and CCDH members are very familiar with it, some of you may not have direct oversight, and it's really helpful to understand how much the CUPA Forum Board and the program are doing. 20 years ago, and I don't think there are very many graybeards left who were there at the origin of the CUPA program, but 20 years ago, we had over 100 CUPAs, and we still had some residual tension between environmental health and fire. And it was no secret at the time that people were jostling to get control over the CUPA program at the local level. Now we have 81 CUPAs. We have a seamless service delivery between fire and environmental health across the state. And we have a very, very well-oiled CUPA Forum Board and a CUPA program. So I think you'll find that it's really edifying to see how well this program's happened. Fred Chun is the Assistant Fire Chief down in the city of Santa Clara. He's our current CUPA Chair. He's been involved in the public and private sector for over 20 years. So he knows who he's regulating, he knows the issues, and he's been involved in the CUPA program itself for 15 years. So we couldn't have a better person to give us an overview. Thanks very much, Fred, for joining us today.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for the kind welcome, and appreciate CCDEH for letting me speak to you all today. And also thank you to Justin for the promotion. It's assistant fire marshal. One of these days, maybe I'll make it to an assistant chief, but thank you for the promotion, Justin.
Oh, you're welcome.
Hopefully everyone can see my screen. Thank you. There we go. Screen on, I hope.
It's loading.
It's loading.
We see a white screen. I think you might be showing need to show the other screen.
Share screen 2. Apologize. Well, is that working?
There we go.
Perfect.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. Thank you again. Just wanted to, like Justin said, we'll give you kind of a brief overview of where we've been, what we're doing, and kind of the roadmap to the future. And kind of the term I've been throwing around at the CUPA Forum Board is this kind of road to 2030, right? Because what are we going to be doing in this next kind of the 10-year outlay? So let's see. Again, thank you, Justin, for the warm welcome. I've been currently the current CUPA chairperson, and been in the CUPA programs for about 15 years, both with the City of Anaheim and currently with the City of Santa Clara. We'll go over, like I said, a little overview, some of the accomplishments that we've completed and what we're working on, and our continued road to 30. Just to kind of give you the framework, each CUPA or PA is a member of the CUPA Forum Board. There are 81 CUPAs today and 20 PAs. The stats on that is there are 49 health agencies, 38 fire agencies, 6 environmental agencies specific, and the remaining 8 are mixed between DTSC, the state, a couple public work agencies, I believe an agricultural department, there's 1 JPA and 1 toxics department, and that pretty much gives you the full CUPA Forum Board. We are split into 4 regions. Each region elects 3 board members and 3 alternates that serve yearly. We also have at-large members. So JAG is the CCDEH at-large member. The California Fire Chiefs Association has a member. There's 1 member that represents all the participating agencies in the state. And then the executive board is made from the primary members, and it's elected from the group. Kind of the governance structure, if you're not familiar with it. So the CFB is kind of obviously kind of like a non-NGO, like a non-governmental office that supports the CUPA mission. With that, we participate in UPAG, the Unified Program Administration and Advisory Group, and that basically is the coordination between the BDOs, Cali PA, and all the CUPA members. So from that, the other structures that you may be familiar with, we have various steering committees for the different programs, say like data, enforcement across the state. Then basically there's technical advisory groups. So those are maybe made up of your staff members that, boots on the ground. Here's some issues that are, they're seeing in the field that they can bring back to a bigger group. And regionally, is there issues that can be brought up through the steering committees and back to the decision makers to see if there's any, legislation, regulations, or whatever we may be needing to fix. So CUPA Forum Board is quite active in this, and it is a very, pretty good structure that has been, successful in our mission. I want to kind of go into some of the accomplishments that we've accomplished here. So we do have, the CUPA program really is one of the premier environmental regulatory programs in the world. There isn't, if you think about it, there really isn't another structure that can really combine, the federal, state, and our local programs where basically all 3, pieces are working seamlessly to implement all these different regulatory programs under one umbrella. think of all the collaboration and the partnerships at all these different levels, right, between our agencies, and all the different disciplines that you know, encompass this. You know, we have different specialties. If you think of all the different you know, CUPA programs that we have, and the different groups that implement this, the staff level and the training that they have is just phenomenal. And that we're all continued, you know, united in this mission for, you know, environmental protection across the state. You know, in its 26 years of the program, at the beginning, there were about 17,000 inspections that were done. And I looked at 2018 stats, and it's about all the CUPAs together, we did about 101,000 inspections across the state. I pulled the federal stats in comparison. I mean, we're doing almost 10 times as many inspections than the federal EPA, and they had about just a little over 10,000 in 2018. Between all of our agencies, you know, we have about 700 to 800 inspectors across the state, and we implement the program quite well. Over 170,000 businesses are part of one of the CUPA programs, which is quite amazing for, you know, a state the size of California. 37 million people across our 58, you know, counties and 482 municipalities that we implement this in a pretty consistent manner from all of our members. You know, one of the things, the environment is local, right? So one of the advantages of the CUPA program is that, you know, you all have the local flavor. You understand what your business needs are for your communities. You know, I looked at some of the numbers out of our database. Majority of the businesses, I mean, there are a lot of multi-jurisdictional businesses that we deal with, but most of them are single agency contact, being that this business that's being regulated by CUPA, they're only dealing with one CUPA at a time. So majority of our businesses are at that local level. Advantages of this kind of model versus, say, a global statewide model. You know, any of the fees minus the surcharges stay in your local community. The fees support your local programs. The fees obviously hire the staffing to implement the program. Most of these people live in the community that they serve, and it's still you know, financial benefit to the system. Span of control. You know, you kind of understand, at least at the local level, what maybe some of the politics may be, or if there's a certain particular need. I'm in the Bay Area in Silicon Valley, which has a completely different need than, say, maybe Central Valley. And so some of the things that we do here, at least, can be focused to the business community that may need some additional regulations or whatnot. We've also, some of the accomplishments through the amount of inspections that we've done, you know, just comparison to, let's say, the federal model, the more inspections that we do, eventually we gain compliance, right? If we're visiting once a year, twice a year, once every 3 years, you know, through the inspection program, we are gaining compliance, which then in turn has, over this last 26 years, has reduced the number of significant emergency responses throughout the state. So ER calls, I mean, there are still ER calls, but overall, if you look at the trends over those last 20 years, they are down compared to when we first started the program. The implementation and partnerships are continuing with Cal Chiefs and KHA. And with this, we've been able to, you know, fix some of the, you know, legislation that initially maybe have not been working with, you know, what we need to do with industry. But basically through our partnerships, we have, you know, simplified some of the laws that we implement across the state. Another thing through our collaboration is we have been working closely with our stakeholders. So we've increased efficiency. So example, there has been a Cal EPA refinery task force where basically you had Cal OSHA, CUPAs, air districts all working together to solve problems at the refineries, how to come up with the new CalR program and how to get that implemented. Another example with our partnerships with our other agencies, a lot of agencies have done joint inspections with federal EPA, for like say the APSA program, where we've had federal EPA inspectors out with your CUPA inspectors, where they're doing a joint inspection, but looking at the specific California items and federal items. So through this program, we've been able to continue great partnerships with all the different stakeholders at all the different regulatory levels. As I said before, the program has, I think, directly impacted, a reduction in hazmat incidents. Even though, the amount of inspections that we do, and sometimes it feels like, we're not doing enough, there's a direct impact on that. So, if you think about this in all of our agencies, this has been a great preventative action by doing inspections. With that, you also have great relationships with your local partners. So if you're health, you obviously have a pretty good relationship with your first responders, getting the information where it needs to go if there really is an emergency. We've accomplished standardized training across the state. So if you can imagine all 101 agencies trying to do the same thing the same way, it's pretty tough. So if you think about, say, the CUPA conference, since the inception and to where it is today, we have achieved a great standardized training module that now at least, all of our staff members are getting great training through one of the largest environmental conferences. We do train approximately 2,600 people per year, and that's a good mix of, say, half government, half private, over 200 speakers, 145 classes that are offered over the 4 days. So through this program, we have at least, increased that standard. Where is that minimum standard across the state? Through this program, at least all 101 agencies are kind of, working off the same sheet of music. SIRS. So, I know initially there was some bumpy starts, but if you kind of look at this last 7 to 10 years since its kind of inception and fully, jumping in and using it, there has been some benefits. Now we have a centralized repository where you can start pulling data and get stats. It makes, for Community Right to Know Act, so the true implementation of some of the hazmat programs is, letting people know what's in their backyard. And so SIRS has, definitely, assisted in that core mission that we were supposed to do. Initially, everyone had their own different violation libraries across the state. So now we're at least all kind of working off of the same violation. So when you start looking at stats, say for enforcement, we can pull, a particular violation code and see where that's being, issued across the state. So, some of these things that were really hard at the beginning, you're starting to see the fruits of that labor now. Also, it's a great place now, everyone can kind of see inspection data to kind of see where we're at. So you can kind of get this flavor of, how we're doing across the state overall. So there is still more work to be done in this particular topic. So, but if you really take from, say, the days of paper where all this stuff is just sitting in our file cabinets to now that it's at our fingertips, this is a great accomplishment from as the CUPA, as the CUPAs across the state. So what are we doing today? So I want to kind of go into this, this next section here. And I'll kind of give you an update on the stuff that we're working on today. AB 1429 was the hazmat certification that passed last year. So, which changed the reporting period from annually to every 3 years. And so, but it still required a certification piece that needs to be done annually. So there's a small team of CUPAs that have been working with Cal EPA on a solution. So yesterday, actually, there was Cal EPA presented a kind of a mock-up of what the screens would look like. So with this, it should make both the business certification piece much simpler, and then processing for your staff. I know staff time that takes quite a bit to process service submittal in the current state, where every submittal has to be reviewed essentially. So now this, with a click of a single button, the business can comply with the certification aspect. There's no action required by the CUPA. So you'll see it on the screen that it's been certified, but it still gives you an option to basically review it if you would like to, or if you choose not to, that it's at least met the minimum standard. We're basically going to present this to industry next, just to kind of give them what we've come up with, since this is a good collaboration between the state CUPAs and industry to get this project to its final state. Violation classification. So again, with the theme of like standardization across the state, there is a new violation classification guidance document that was produced by UPAG, and that's for use by all CUPAs and PAs. It definitely needed an update. So all the 6 programs are encumbered under this single guidance document. So this, again, if you're reading this for your staff members, again, increases that standardization and basically how to issue a particular violation and the type of classification it would need, class 1, 2, or minor. And again, so it's giving you scenarios, which then helps increase that same level of expectation across the state. So again, it's a great tool for CUPAs and PAs, but also industry as well. We did, with the wildfire season approaching, so we did work with industry. This was a request from them at the conference. So we were able to do a temporary generator exemption out of the health and safety code. So there is a standardized form which got mailed out to all the CUPAs to help with these temporary emergency generators during, say, a wildfire incident or a public safety power shutdown. So again, a great collaboration between industry and the BDOs to get this project finalized. So now it is out there and hopefully being used, with the wildfires that are occurring, in the last couple of weeks. We're still pushing rural support. So, working with CalPA to ensure that the rural reimbursement program is still staying in place. For future, how do we enhance that? Because, we've been talking to some of the rural CUPAs and some of the problems that they had. So, again, here's an example of what we're trying to do. State Water Board has like a part-time UST inspector contractor that could be potentially used. So if there's an agency that needs support in that program, that is a resource out there. We've been also trying to figure out if JPAs or MOUs might be used to kind of consolidate some of the efforts. One agency may only have one CalARP facility, but trying to train them to be, at that top level of a CalARP inspector for one facility is tough. So there's sometimes this consolidation that could happen, or in that thought, we were also talking about like a strike team concept, right, from the fire department, where basically if there's a need in a CUPA, can another CUPA that has that expertise, help out as well. So, and I believe, we're also, examining KHA contracts with some of the retirees that can go out and potentially help with field inspections, or I believe there's another project like for another agency that needed AEO support. So we are continuing to support our, our rural partners. We're starting a new strategic plan. So Cal EPA is producing a new Cal EPA strategic plan, which obviously impacts our current UPAC strategic plan that's currently good till about 2022. So we are just starting that process right now. So some of your staff will be participating in that as well. So between the next, towards the end of the year, we hopefully will have a draft product that we can eventually produce and share with everyone, incorporating all the different goals that we have for the future. We're also working on battery work group. There's all this new battery technology out there, or we're trying to get all our arms around it. So there is a work group working on that to identify all the different battery types. Again, trying to, our ultimate goal is consistency. So we hopefully will have a guidance document out here shortly. We're also working on new member mentorship. So as in the CUPA Forum Board, and I'm sure with CCDEH, there is a slow changeover as people are retiring or you have some promotions. Then also you have new members that come in on the board. So we have implemented shadowing to, obviously for the continuity of our operations from a long-term standpoint, and building our bench so that way, this program can continue on into the future, long after, we are all gone and retired. So this is a new thing that we're also doing as well. Website and social media enhancements. So I know Tim is our webmaster, and he's been doing a great job. We used to have two separate platforms for the conference and the board. We've enhanced that as a single website. One of the nice things now is CEU training. So for all the members and your staff, their training records are on the website, so they can log in and see any of the training that they've taken in the past. It's kind of keeping that record for them. We're producing new videos to put out there as well that can be used for CEU. As we get new guidance documents, we post that as well. So it's kind of we're trying to make that a centralized hub for all these different projects that we've been working on. We're also, revamping our social media, trying to make that as a tool, different generations. So between the website, social media, trying to get information out there, depending on how, either members or the general public, consumes it. We're trying to keep that same messaging between all the different medias. And then we have also enhanced our discussion boards for staff. So instead of bombarding people with emails, if they have questions about a particular topic, they can go on that discussion board and post that, and it's open to all the members to chime in. The CUPA conference. So we, with coronavirus happening across the state, we made a decision, just trying to outlay what the future would look like. So the February 2021 conference in Anaheim has been postponed. However, in its place, we will be doing a virtual conference this coming year. So expect the same great tracks that we've always offered. Next year's theme is Unified in Shaping Tomorrow. Currently, we'd like to, advertise between all of you and your staff. There's a current call for abstracts. So if any of your staff has a great topic that they want to present to, the wider group, definitely this is the time to go on to calcupa.org and submit their abstracts so we can put that in the queue and get that class prepared for next year. We're still going to offer scholarships for agencies that need them. So we are still working that out, but there will be scholarships offered for any agency to cover the registration costs. The one thing on the conference, since it's just not a one-shot in person, all the different sessions will be recorded similar to this, and then they can be viewed at a later date. So if your staff can't particularly be on the live version, we will have this library and it will be open for the following year. They can also apply for CEUs on some of the classes as well. Obviously, I think all of us have been impacted. There's, across the state, we as the CUPA Forum Board have been working closely with Cal EPA on monitoring this. It depends on where you are in the state, right? And we all kind of see the new framework from the governor on how we're going to, reopen. And so obviously this is an impact to all the programs. Inspections are down, businesses are potentially closing. There's a, eventual direct impact to probably some of the financial aspects for our CUPAs. So we are monitoring. Every month Cal EPA has been doing a survey to all the all the CUPAs to basically kind of get a pulse of what's going on, how many inspections, what's the priorities for the different agencies. So we are publishing that and making that available to everyone. So if you haven't gotten a copy of that, do let us know so we can get that information out to you. With that, we're also kind of looking at virtual modified inspections. We are coming up with some guidance because, what constitutes a virtual inspection versus, our traditional in-person. So we are trying to come up with some, good, best, management practices that can be used across the state. We're also working closely with CaliPA and the BDOs, how to best document these type of inspections when they're being done. I think we're trying to also, keep track of these in our databases so that if we ever need to go back, we did a virtual inspection and wrote a particular inspection report for that, when we kind of get back into some normalcy, maybe those are the ones we might want to, spot check potentially. So we're also coming out with some best case uses. So to kind of give maybe your inspectors some guidance on like, is this appropriate to do this maybe for one chemical shop? But if you have a chemical facility that has 500, yeah, the virtual modified inspection might, the virtual aspect might not be, the appropriate method for that type of inspection. So, again, in addition to coronavirus, we're all impacted by wildfires throughout the state. We are with that going to continue our discussion on disaster and wildfire. So we are still planning a symposium. We've retained Bill Jones again, since he's retired, to basically focus on this particular project for us. We did have that symposium, I believe it was maybe it's 2 summers ago now. So again, we want to pick up where we left off. Still hammer out, how we handle resources across the state. I still saw, say, just even recently, JAG asking for some support in Solano County. Again, how, I'm getting the request, I'm a fire department, how do I get my people over across that line? So we still have some of these issues that we've talked about, and we really need to maybe hammer this out. Is this a reg? Is this legislation that needs to, potentially clean some of that up? These are those discussions I think, we'll need to continue to flesh out as a group. Looking forward, from an outlay, what does it look like over our next decade? And, kind of the things I think we should be focusing on as a group, at least, what I'll be, conveying to the CUPA Forum Board. But, obviously, you are a partner in this equation as well. So, what do we have going on looking into the future? So, coronavirus really kind of wreaked some havoc on the legislation process this year. So, a lot of the bills we were kind of following probably will need to be reintroduced next year. I know the one we've closely been working together on was the AB 1500, AB 2298. That was the omnibus bill that had a lot of the things that we needed to fix, some of the language and various, minor changes to some of the code sections, but also that it had the portion where, how do we, potentially close down a facility? So I know Justin and I were on a call, I believe, with Steve, and one of the concerns, there are still some concerns from industry, what constitutes an immediate endangerment, where you can invoke that. Is there going to be an appeals process? So there's a few items, I think, in that, the way it was written, that are kind of maybe some sticking points that, I think overall, the concept, I think, on both sides, everyone's still on the same page. It's just kind of maybe fleshing out some of these little details that we need to do. So I think in this particular one, when we revisit this, there may be a thought to split out the non-controversial pieces from it. So that way, those things that we do need fixed in the other sections don't get held up, and then really hammer out the other pieces here. Definitely, this is, a thing that we'll need to work out as a group to kind of, hammer out some of these other fine details that industry has concern, and seeing if we can kind of come up with a good solution to that. Other concepts, release reporting is a regulation that we need to continue to, I think, push. It's been sitting out there for a few years now. So we did make, a particular comment back to CaliPA to make this a priority, since it has been a little bit stale now. So GIR is still, I believe, at OAL. I haven't heard back from DTSC on that. So again, that's some stuff that has been in, long-term works, trying to get these over the finish line. Other things, and coming up, obviously we have the single wall tank removals by 2025 is a big piece. Another topic that impacts a lot of our programs, contiguous properties is an issue between how we, manage, what is definition in a hazardous waste program is slightly different than what it is in the business plan program, and how it's also implemented in APSA. So it is one of the ones that we probably need to clarify a little bit that impacts all the different programs. Another topic that's coming up is retail exemptions. The city of LA had that, butane fire, but that would have fallen out of our universe in the business plan because it's under retail exemptions, right? And so there's a thought about some of the stuff that is currently being exempted, and potentially taking a look in that, do we need to fix some of the holes, right? Bringing back plant waste, I think that did not, it did not get moved further this year. So again, we want to revisit that one again to, try to get, any of the plant waste, cannabis waste clippings, that are, if you test them, are hazardous. So, and would require being managed as a hazardous waste. So we definitely want to revisit that. I think also all our agencies will need to look at the financial outlook, the impacts to coronavirus that will be, not felt maybe today, but, what is that going to look like over this next, say, even 5 years? If we take a playbook back out of, the 2008 financial crisis and how that impacted all of our agencies, in the 2009, 10, probably even into the 11 fiscal years, definitely this is something, that's going to impact all of our agencies. Does that mean staffing cuts, business closures in your jurisdictions as well? So, again, if that happens, it's a big impact to all of us, right? Even the surcharges will impact the state as well. So we are keeping track of this. We're trying to keep our pulse on this, but definitely at some point there will be some impact to all of us. Another thing that CaliPA is working on is INSER's Next Gen, but they're also talking about it today is key performance indicators. So these are kind of taking a look at the programmatic kind of high level health of our programs. Looking at percentiles, are we meeting, the 100th percentile for all inspections by the mandated state, timeframes, or are these done, at a lower level, right? So we think, most of this is good. I think they're good, goals that we all need to strive towards as in our programs. To me, either if it's definitely in legislation and it's something that CUPAs need to be doing, I think these are, good numbers to see, where we're at. Some of the numbers are low, where we're at the 50th percentile, say, on return to compliance. So again, taking that data at our local level, how do we increase that? I think one of the things, this will definitely impact us potentially on evaluations, because they may look at this as a global, kind of health of the CUPA programs, but they can also look at the, individual CUPAs as well. So, how is this going to look with CUPA evaluations? So, moving into CUPA evaluations, the work group hasn't met in a while. So, CaliPA has committed to reestablishing that work group back in probably the winter of this year with the other projects that are going on. At least the state with their hiring has stabilized their evaluation team. So they are basically committed to staying on the existing schedule. So I know they are trying to keep with the timeframes. So, you know, they are pretty, you know, I'm actually going through my evaluation at this moment. And so they have a pretty good timeline on the deliverables from the BDOs versus I know a lot of us were having problems where we were getting our first, you know, eval, but not getting the final reports for almost a year out, which only left you, you know, 2 years to try to, you know, fix any deficiencies. In the future, I think definitely it's still going to be data driven. All the stuff that we're doing is, you know, being tracked and then extrapolating that data. So I think one of the things we as a group still need to focus on would be like the standardization of how we evaluate that data, right? That it's, you know, fair across all of our, you know, agencies, that we have kind of the set ground rules of what data is going to be used and how we're evaluated against that. Enforcement is a new theme from the secretary. There's his, you know, February 14th memo that went out. I believe enforcement is going to be, you know, critical probably in the next, you know, couple years. It will be a theme in the strategic plan, just to kind of give you a heads up. But with that, I think, you know, for our programs locally, you know, I think CalEPA, you know, definitely working with us, you know, to establish some clear goals and, you know, and deadlines that we need to meet. And, you know, there's a theme of, you know, some consequences on that. So again, what does that mean to our programs? You know, we're still trying to work with, you know, CalEPA to, you know, flesh that out. You know, I think we're trying to get some good ground rules on that, you know, to increase this piece in all of our programs. So they're looking at the data, you know, specifically, I think RTCs are down, return to compliance. So this is one of the things I think we'll be, you know, revisiting as a group. CERS Next Gen, like I said, data I think is really going to be a critical thing in all of our agencies going in this next 10 years. The KPIs are going to be designed. The CERS Next Gen projects is about a, you know, a 5-year project to revamp CERS, to have it, you know, be much more functional for both sides, both for the regulated community and us. Data heavy, right? I think this is going to be a big thing for us that we'll need to definitely focus on, and predicting more that our agencies will probably need more support in this arena compared to, like, you know, maybe the model that we've all been used to, maybe. You know, definitely we probably will need some more data analysts to help us, you know, keep businesses in compliance and just to kind of keep all this, you know, the data machine going. Another thing to look out, staffing and workforce, you know, as people retire, promote, you know, again, trying to, you know, diversify our employees. I think that's, you know, looking at the demographics of, you know, the inspectors across the state, you know, and, you know, what else is going on in the, you know, the nation. You know, this is something maybe, you know, we need to continue to look at in our own agencies and across the state. Just recruitment, you know, trying to get people motivated to do the work that we're doing today, right? Not even in CUPA programs, I'm sure in your health departments as well. This is a topic that, you know, we talk about, and what are we doing to, you know, spread that message to, you know, people in, say, college right now, that this is a career option for them, right? As, you know, our 700 to 800 inspectors out across the state, a lot of them are, you know, probably from the time they started getting close to retirement age. So we do, you know, we predict there is going to be a big turnover, but also trying to make sure that we can attract and keep that talent out there to join our forces to, you know, continue our mission. We, you know, obviously continue working with our regulated community. You know, I believe in the last couple of years we've had some pretty good, you know, relationships with our industry community, listening to their needs as well, finding some common ground to, you know, ensure that, you know, we're having good consistency across the board. You know, obviously with them, they're seeing in their community, you know, in the short term, some closures. So again, you know, continuing to understand that what they're going through financially, I know a lot of most of our CUPA regulated businesses are, small to medium facilities. The financial hardships that they're going through, understanding and empathizing with that, and, how to still run a good program and, obviously, help people financially to, succeed and, hopefully stay in business. We're also continuing working with Cal EPA. Obviously, Assistant Secretary Jason Baetzer, came from obviously health and CUPAs. So, we do meet with him weekly to kind of, take a look at all these bigger issues across the state. We are being more proactive on that, through good communication, trying to see, if there's problems or issues that are coming up, trying to address these on a timely basis. So at least with Jason, he knows, what we are all going through at the local level. So at least it's nice to have someone that has that, background. So we, obviously over this next, few years, we'll continue to, be a partner with them to implement our programs. With that, whatever challenges that, come up, I definitely know our two groups can work together to, fix any of these things that, come our way. So with that, Road to 30, 2030, I thank you for your time, and we'll be glad to answer any questions.
Well, Fred, thank you so much for that presentation. I know many of the directors and those attending appreciate this update, because we don't always get the full message from the regional meetings or from our representatives. Just wanted to also thank you for highlighting the legislation. CAHA really does most of the legislative work. The fire chiefs certainly help in certain areas. So as we prepare for our strategic planning for next year for CCDEH and CAHA, it's important for the directors to know that there's a need in the CUPA program for some legislative fixes still. And then the last point, sort of a question as well, is we have a good working relationship between the directors and the CUPA Forum Board. We have an ex officio, the CUPA Forum Board is an ex officio member of CCDEH. We have a CCDEH member on the CUPA Forum Board, usually our hazmat policy chair. And of course, between Cheryl's engagement, my engagement, the conference, the legislation, we have a great working relationship. But I just wanted you to share with the directors how important it is to have their engagement directly, not just their staff, with the CUPA Forum Board, so that we remain simpatica in our joint objectives in protecting environmental health.
Yeah, definitely, Justin. I think, just like we had, I think most of you were at, like, say, the Wildfire Symposium. I think these are great things that, at a high level that we, there are still, a lot of these issues that we need to take care of. So definitely continuing our support at, big picture, how do we fix some of these, issues across the state? Definitely, our two groups, staying engaged in that, I think is, definitely key. To get the support we need to even fix some of the, some of this legislation that's out there. Definitely, we'll continue needing the support of your staff, but definitely the larger group here, to get your input and also your, feedback and support for these different initiatives.
Thank you.
Thanks, Fred, for a great presentation. We're still waiting to see if any of our members have any questions. I don't see any in the Q&A section. While people are thinking about it, maybe I can bring up the website again. You know me, always pushing the CUPA website. I can point out just a few things while we're waiting for a question or two. Just a reminder, people, when you first arrive on the website, it's best if you sign in. People, you can find out about the conference. Submit an abstract. Abstracts, as Fred mentioned, are due September 30th. So that is coming up. That deadline is soon. So I want to encourage people to get their abstracts turned in as soon as possible. One other thing that comes up a lot is people want to know where's their course history. They want to get their certificates. They can view them. We have a function that allows them to download all of their certificates on one page so that they can see them on this one page. Hopefully it'll come up here, unless the internet's busy. Okay, I see some questions coming in. That's good. So
How much does
you can download the certificate. Again, this shows all the certificates on one page. It's handy for submitting your renewals for REHS every 2 years. So
we do have one question, Tim. How much does the CUPA conference cost this year? I believe, did we say, Cheryl, if you're still on the line, is it
$375?
Yeah,
$375. And then it does go up. I think if you're a late registration, it does go up after January, and then if it's within like 48 hours of the conference, and there's another surcharge. But we for the scholarships, basically what we're anticipating, if you apply for a scholarship, it would cover your registration, cost.
Right. And then just to highlight what you said, Fred, about the discussion center. People can select a program area, they can follow it and be notified when there's updates to that particular program area. So it's kind of handy. They can only—
Tim, I got another quick question for Fred while others tee questions up. Fred, you mentioned the monthly surveys the forum board's doing with CALI-PA, really around COVID and our capacity. CCDEH is engaging in another survey of its other programs, somewhat related. And I think it would be great, it's partly a comment, partly a question, if you can work with Jag and myself to synthesize some of that information from the CUPA program, and we can incorporate it into the CCDEH survey, because I know that there isn't any formal recognition or statutory change in the obligations in the CUPA programs in terms of their inspection, but CALI-PA appears to have been sensitive to the fact that COVID has thrown us a curveball and may not hold us accountable as they normally would. We're hoping that we could bring that information together and go to other agencies, go to the state, the legislature, and explain how we've prioritized in the time of COVID. So partly a question is, can we work with the CUPA Forum Board to get some of that summary information and incorporate it into our survey?
Yes, Justin, definitely we can definitely facilitate that. Just like what Justin said, there is no reprieve at this moment. We are still required to do full implementation of the program, right, at this moment with COVID, with wildfires. However, that's, the realities across our agencies, that is a tough thing, right? Some of the agencies, you still have staff working from home. So how are you doing inspections, right? Which is a core piece of our duties. So, we're trying to think outside the box, like through the virtual stuff. I think the conceptual idea of BDOs are, for the most part, depending on the scenarios, interested in, how we're going to document that type of stuff. But definitely, we can, share the results and come up with some, key, indicators from that.
Thanks, Fred.
All right. Well, we don't have any more questions. So, Justin, do you have any final thoughts or words? Or Fred, any final thoughts or words?
No, just thank again, Fred and the CUPA Forum Board. It's been a very active group. We want to keep that relationship alive and make sure that we simpatico in the things we ask of the state and the feds, and make sure that we hand in hand with the fire community so that there's no difference in the way we approach that responsibility. So thanks, Fred, you and the CUPA Forum Board, and it's a great working relationship we have with you.
Yeah, thank you again for the moment to speak here with you all today, and definitely continue, the great progress that we have been doing over the last couple of decades, and looking forward to continuing, working with you all this year, and solving the problems that we have, one at a time, right?
Great job. Thank you, Fred. As we wrap up, I'm going to remind people that next Thursday will be another hazmat discussion. It will be provided by, titled Environmental Justice and Environmental Health by Yana Garcia from Cali EPA. So that's at 9 o'clock next Thursday, September 10th. Lastly, a reminder to complete your conference evaluation. And remember where that is. It's on the conference, the events, virtual conference. Click on the conference evaluation and complete your conference evaluation for this workshop session. So thank you very much. Everybody be safe. Have a great day. Fred, thanks again. We look forward to the continued working relationship between CUPA and CCDEH. Take care,
Thanks,
everybody.
Tim. Thanks all.
Thank
Bye,
you,
everyone.